Hey there, Legal Eagles! Today, I'm diving into the nitty-gritty of contract terminations in Malaysia, specifically looking at construction contracts under three standard forms: CIDB 2022, PWD 203A 2010, and PAM 2018. First up, CIDB 2022. Termination can be initiated by either the employer or the contractor. The employer can terminate if the contractor fails to perform, abandons the site, or becomes insolvent. Conversely, the contractor has the right to terminate if there's non-payment or a prolonged suspension of work by the employer. The procedure requires a written notice, giving the defaulting party time to rectify the situation, usually within 14 to 30 days. If the issue remains unresolved, a final notice of termination is issued. Next, let's talk about PWD 203A 2010, often used in government projects. Here, the termination process is quite similar. The employer may terminate the contract for reasons like non-performance, abandoning work, or insolvency. On the flip side, the contractor can terminate if the government fails to pay or suspends the project for an extended period. This contract also requires a default notice, a rectification period, typically 14 days, and then a final notice if the issue persists. Lastly, there's the PAM 2018 contract, commonly used in private sector projects. Both employers and contractors can initiate termination under specific conditions. Employers may terminate for failure to proceed, abandonment, or breach of contract. Contractors, on the other hand, can terminate for non-payment or prolonged suspension of works. As with the other contracts, a notice must be given, with a time period, usually 7 to 14 days, for the default to be remedied. If not, termination can proceed. To sum up, termination under CIDB, PWD, and PAM contracts follows a similar structure: clear grounds for termination, notice requirements, and a rectification period. The main differences lie in the specific procedures, timelines, and wording within each contract. Therefore, it's crucial for both employers and contractors to adhere strictly to the procedures outlined to avoid wrongful termination, which can lead to legal disputes and financial losses. Now let's look at a couple of real-life cases. Case 1. Martego versus ARMC. ARMC, an architecture firm, was hired by Martego for a development project. After completing the work, ARMC claimed unpaid fees of RM 599,500 under the Construction Industry Payment and Adjudication Act 2012, or CIPAA. Martego argued that CIPAA only applies to progress payments during an ongoing project, not after termination. However, the Court of Appeal disagreed. Justice David Wong clarified that Section 4 of CIPAA defines payment broadly. It covers any work done or services rendered under a construction contract, whether interim, final, or even after termination. The court ruled that ARMC was entitled to claim unpaid fees under CIPAA, regardless of the contract's termination. Case 2. Contractor versus government. This case involved a contractor who failed to complete a school construction project on time, despite multiple extensions. The government eventually terminated the contract due to delays and unsatisfactory work. However, the Court of Appeal ruled in favor of the contractor. The termination notice was found to be defective as it failed to state clear reasons. Additionally, the contractor's delays did not amount to a fundamental breach of contract, especially since the government had repeatedly allowed extensions. The court emphasized that once the government chose to affirm the contract by allowing work to continue, they lost the right to terminate it later. So, there you have it. Navigating contract terminations in Malaysia requires a keen understanding of the specific terms in CIDB, PWD, and PAM contracts. Always follow the procedures to the letter to avoid potential legal pitfalls. Stay tuned for more legal insights. Catch you next time.